Welcome to a special edition of the Arizona Project. Serving Arizona since 2009, defending Arizona, America, and fellow citizens against leftism, liberalism, and the deep state. And now, here's your host, Ronald Others.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I want to welcome you all to the city now that officially has a police commission that's going to look after our cops. And I'm not sure that's going to be a good thing. Anyway, we have Tim Horn with us tonight.
Hi, everyone.
And we want to talk at first about a few things here regarding what's been going on across the country. Next section, we're going to have Jim O'Connor. He's going to be a write-in candidate for the Arizona Corporation Commission. And he is no relative, I guess, of Mike O'Connor, our board op.
That's a good thing.
So I don't know if they're Klansmen, I guess. I don't mean that Ku Klux Klansman, but Irish Klansman.
He's a good guy.
And then in our second hour, we're going to have John Rosado, and he's going to be talking about Mark Kelly, who is running, and you're going to be surprised.
Have you noticed that John looks an awful lot like Mark Kelly?
He does. I think that Mark Kelly has a twin brother, and he has the same hairdo.
Yeah.
They have the same hairdo. At any rate, we're going to talk about that. But before we go, I've been kind of lobbying, Tim, against this police commission thing here in Arizona, at least in Phoenix, for the following reason. It's really, I wonder about the city council, and they have the purse strings. It seems to me that they should be the board. Why are we setting up a $10 million board that's going to be politicized, and it's going to, I think, hamper the police in the long run from
Well, I
their
think part
activities.
of it's its name, right? It's a accountability and transparency board, and it's funded by the extra money apparently from the money that was put together by Congress to help us get by the. Let's see, the current one's the riots. We moved back one. Oh yeah, COVID-19. I have to get all these things in line because we had impeachment before that, then it was China before that,
And then it was Russia.
And then it was Russia before. Oh, it was Russia before. You get them confused. There's so many.
And this is all one big political joke.
Yes,
it's to
it is.
destroy Donald Trump and Donald Trump's followers, of which I am one.
And I am too.
So, at any rate, we know that. You recognize that. I mean, one thing follows right on the heels of the next thing, and they're trying desperately to destroy Donald Trump. And I'm hoping none of this sticks. I mean, nothing has so far. And now I hear that Biden came out this morning saying, oh, well, gee whiz, if he had acted 2 weeks sooner, we could have saved 60,000 lives. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. Where do you get your numbers? I mean, we know that the numbers that were given by the Center for Disease Control were all incorrect. The models were so far off. And we're still struggling here in the United States. Some states are totally free. Others are still locked down. I understand New York today was going to try to open up.
Yeah.
And the governor of that state ought to turn himself into the authorities and face the consequences of having 6,000 elderly people die under his tutelage. At any rate, I wanted to talk about a couple of things here, Tim.
Before you go off that subject, Ron, I think it's important that the numbers that our opponents in the political arena come up with are often used to mislead. And of course, the biggest mislead right now is the one that's driving people mad out in the streets and going crazy, which is the issue of
Black Lives Matter.
Well, blacks being murdered by any cop. But those of you who don't know this, it's been out. Former police commissioner in New York came out with the figures, and he only was repeating what the FBI said. I think it's important to hit those hard because everybody out in this audience needs to know the numbers that tell the true story. And so what are the numbers for 2019 as far as cops engaging in conflicts with citizens all over the United States? According to the FBI crime statistics, which I used to use those when I was working building jails and prisons. When I first got to school, we were architects. We primarily did courthouses, jails, law enforcement facilities. And we used a lot of data from the FBI reports that are.
I hope you're not using your real name here. You might be a marked man.
No, I was a good guy. And everybody loved us because we were building new places for them to live in, and they were nice. So, but the point of the numbers is, what Carrick told us was, from the FBI reports, about 10 million arrests made in 2019. Of those 10 million, there were a number of people killed. There were 49 people, I think, that he said were actually killed that were unarmed in conflicts. 1,004 people actually died in conflicts with the police. 49 again were unarmed, and of those, there were 9 black people that were killed. 9 black, I think 1 woman, and the rest were men, and there were 19 white people that were killed. So this idea that people are out running the streets and attacking buildings, which we talked about in the last show right here in Scottsdale, that they're doing it because they're outraged over one man's death, which is of course sad. I've never heard anyone say anything but that. And we're all in one, it's probably the only thing that all Americans have agreed on, at least in the last 3.5 years. But yeah, it's a sad thing about Mr. Floyd. It's awful. But
And about 98% of the American public believes that this was a tragedy and it should never have happened.
that's my point exactly. But the numbers do tell the story. So we're all in agreement on that. But the numbers tell a different story than what the black culture knows in the United States or even internationally. I heard it repeated yet today on the BBC by a reporter there saying, well, the problem they're all demonstrating it is because the police totally abuse and kill black people almost on demand all across America. And I'm going, well, she's never looked at the stats. And apparently nobody in the Democratic Party has either. But you now know them. So in 2019, there were 49 deaths of unarmed people at the hands of police out of 1,004 that were.
Well, here's some of the numbers.
Let me just finish. And the last thing is 19 and 9. Okay, 9 blacks, 19 whites. So it was more likely you'd be getting killed. And by the way, I heard Candace Owens say the other day, who we all like Candace Owens, she was saying that she parried it. She said, there's a lot of black people who say, yeah, but, we're a smaller percentage and, because it makes more sense. But what she said was, well, when you really look at the percentage, what you need to look at is how many times police are involved in altercations with black people since they're committing most of the crime. This is what Candace Owens said. She didn't talk stats, but that's what she said. I'd like to know the numbers, but that's what she said. But when you consider it that way, that out of all those interactions, often armed, only 9 people that were black in 2019 got killed. So it's best to look at the numbers. It's not that it's not an outrage, but it's certainly not a wave of death and destruction brought to the black community by police anywhere in the country. So I just wanted to get that down, and you can look it up on the internet. and
What's
check
that on
out.
your face, Tim?
This?
Well, they got an arrow on your face.
I don't. Are you pointing at my eye over there? Thank you.
At any rate, yes, Tim, you're right. You're right on. This article was written by a black man, and it's 10 reasons why I would never support Black Lives Matter. And the very first one is it's a false premise, and it is. Here's the numbers, and you're right about the number 9. You had 76 altercations with blacks, but 149. These are shootings and deaths. 149 whites and 76 blacks. I mean, come on, guys. Plus, if you go to the Black Lives Matter website, Tim, there's no reconciliation on this thing. There's nothing that says, here's what you have to do to be forgiven. I mean, first of all, I haven't done anything.
I don't ask for forgiveness.
I don't think you
I wouldn't
have.
ask for forgiveness from anybody.
Yeah.
God, yes.
I haven't done anything. I've never owned slaves. My family never owned slaves, and I've never done anything, to my knowledge, against people of any color or race, and that's the way it is, or should be. But then you go on to this, and here's one of the big things here, and it says all about black power, and this states this on their website. And I would go to it, ladies and gentlemen. Go to the Black Lives Matter website, and it says, it's become clear that we need to continue organizing and building black power across the nation. What on earth, Tim, if we said, you and I want to start a white power group? Think we'd be in trouble?
No, we would be. You don't have to think about it. Well, yeah, I think, and a lot of people would say, all the other races should probably try to build up their repertoire and say, hey, other people matter too. But the focus in this country, certainly now, is that Black Lives Matter. And it's not really open for discussion in most of the culture, and certainly not in the left-wing or really right-wing media in our country. So I would love, and I have a thing that I actually wrote about it in my book, Ruling the Elite, which I don't have in front of me, I'll bring it out later, which is the reality that I would like to see is that I know this is amazing, and I've made speeches, and you've probably been to one of them or two, Ron, where I'll talk to people and I'll say, okay, I want everybody to close their eyes. I'm going to ask you at home to do that right now. I want you to close your eyes and think of something for a minute. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Imagine that you lived in a country where the government treated everybody the same. Right. Because you don't live in one. The United States does not treat everybody the same. It's all layered, and people get privilege from one thing and other races don't, and it's all a mismatch. And I'm highly against that. And if we really want to solve the race problems in this country, the very basic start should be, including in Supreme Court, this is for you. What you should do is really follow what the Constitution says, where the Constitution says you will treat all American citizens the same, and you don't. Not one politician, not one government person, not the Supreme Court. They all have excuses why they can't do it. Similar to the excuses that were used when we had black slaves in this country. It was wrong then because we didn't treat everybody the same. It's wrong now.
And we have a dual judicial system in this country, not for black and whites, but for politicians. How many crimes have the politicians created that you and I would be in jail for? We still have all of these people with this hoax, the Sedation Act, for one.
Sedition.
Sedition.
Sedition's good. Health is a big
good
subject
if you can't
today.
sleep. At any rate, how many of these people have been put behind bars? How many of them have even had indictments against them
That's our problem.
or brought forward? And so when we start talking about a judicial system that's duplicitous, it's not duplicitous with whites and blacks. It's duplicitous with citizens and politicians.
Well, the best way to think of it, it's not just the politicians, it's the elite.
Yeah, ruling the elite.
So that's my book, because it's the elite that get the special treatment in both parties, but primarily it seems like it's the Democrats, because nobody gets indicted, and many of us believe there should be indictments. And I really think that if you're going to get to the bottom of everything we faced in the last 3.5 years, there's nobody on the left that's going to give it any credibility unless you're in the courtroom. So Attorney General Barr, just from out here in the hinterland of ordinary people, you need to get your rather large butt in gear and make sure that you go after these people for what they've done. You know the evidence is out there. You got to make sure that something happens, because actually a lot of regular Americans on both sides of the aisle are losing trust in the system. Your job is to pull it back together.
And one of the things, too, is that's one of your departments, sir. The FBI is under the Department of Justice, of which you're the Secretary of that Justice Department.
He's the Attorney General.
Well, the Attorney General, I'm sorry. And let's face it, you're not doing the job. Although you're a tough cookie, I'll agree with that.
The talk's a good game.
You're better than the past ones. But we absolutely have to have the FBI under control. They're not. And I understand that today, Tim, that he had asked for something, and the FBI said, "Well, we can't provide that."
Yeah, can you imagine that?
And he's the head of he is the Attorney General.
And I'll also note, for those of you who might have forgotten, it's been almost, over a year and a half anyway, since President Trump wanted to take the former director of the NSA's secret clearance away. He requested that it be done immediately. It's yet to be done. The bureaucracy refuses to do that. This is a man that was dismissed. He's out on talk shows, still has access to secret information, and I'm sure he feeds it to his party.
It's the swamp.
It's
the deep state
the
swamp.
bureaucracy that's controlling America right now. Big problem.
Now, I want to go through this real quick, Tim. We only have
please.
a couple of minutes before the next one, but Black Lives Matter as people walk through the abortion clinics in their neighborhoods. That is one of the biggest sins in the world, is the simple fact that Black Lives Matter, but unborn black children do not.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I'm not a fan of abortion either. It's a tough question for a lot of people. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this, and I got to attribute. If you saw Candace Owen talk in front of Congress and nailed them on this when they were doing the whole thing, she was talking about white nationalism. And I got to say, if you're black and listening to this, and I hope you are, it would be great. But I don't know a single white person, and I've been white all my life, and I've lived in white communities. I don't know a single person who has been ever associated with white nationalism, nor do I know anybody who knows anybody. And does anybody in this studio know anybody that's been a white nationalist?
No.
No. So it's not big. So Candace Owens said to Congress, in the hearing that she was in, she said, Nadler was running it, she said, if you made a list of 100 things that affect black people, she said, poor education, the inability to get to charter schools. She mentioned just a whole unemployment, history of a bad culture, bad parenting. 75% of the blacks or so don't have two-parent families. And whites aren't that much better, but she said, the point is about those things, you made a list of 100 of them, she said, white nationalism would not be an issue for black people. And there you have it. And nobody disagreed with her. But she said, you know why you do this, and you've done it every election of my lifetime, she said. It's because every 4 years, you want to put the boogeyman of a white man is going to come and hurt you, and they want to put it out there so that you guys scare everybody that's my color. That's Candace Owen, who, of course, as you probably know, is a black woman, very smart black woman. Prager University, you can see her there.
One of the things that I really got me excited the very first time I saw her speaking before a black group, and she was talking about slavery. And she looked out amongst the audience and she said, how many of you in this room have been a slave? Slavery's been over, Jim, for about 150 years in this country. And because we are Americans, we learn to live with people of all different nationalities. That's what America is. People come here because America is an idea of freedom and liberty. And if you're Asian and you believe that, welcome. And if you're black and you believe that, welcome. It's when we start getting these crazy ideas that one race is superior to the other, and we try to enforce it. I don't know that anybody tries to enforce it other than, and I dare say this, the Democrats, because they use it as a political issue, and it's a shame that they take that and run with it constantly, and we can go over that later after.
Well, equality means something, and that's the big push on the street today, is people want equality. But really, are you prepared to have equality? I hope you are, people that are running around the streets, because that would look like everybody gets treated the same by the government. There's nothing special for you because of your race, color, gender, sexuality. Now, I've lived all my life without being identified as anybody who should get anything, including business loans, scholarship to college, all that stuff. I didn't get even a chance at those things like probably pretty much all white men my age. So, I know people think, you're getting the rough end of the stick because of your color, but the reality is that treatment of inequality is a zero-sum game. I've said it before, and I've said it on this show. If you discriminate in favor of someone, you, by definition, discriminate against someone else. And if you don't believe that, take it in your own family as if you were a child and your parents did that to one of your siblings, or if you would do it as a parent right now. You can't do it. There's only so much to go around. Therefore, if someone gets more of it, someone must get less of it. Well, who's been getting less as all this largesse, I think it's at $22 trillion, have been spent to put together the Great Society since Lyndon Baines Johnson was president. And where did that money go to?
The war on poverty.
And where didn't it go to?
Remember the war on poverty, Tim?
Yes, all that was part of the war on poverty, to build the Great Society. And I think we made progress. I really think we have. But we keep going through 92, we had riots. Now we've got riots. And it's about the same thing. So maybe what the politicians and our government should try to do is treat everybody the same. If you would do that, now there's no argument. don't go after police and be able to show the people that complain about it, or don't let the police go after blacks or do things like what happened to Floyd. We don't want that to happen. Nobody does. Make sure it doesn't, and make sure you keep the stats and tell them to people, because the media is not going to tell the truth. They have a vested interest in telling lies to get people to push and bring power to the party they support. And you want the truth, whatever side you're on. What we want are the stats that tell the truth, the statistics that are kept. If you look at those, you find a completely different story than the one you're told on a daily basis by people who want to take your freedom away from some people and give more power to themselves.
We talked a little about this last week. There was a demonstration downtown at the City Hall in Phoenix. And I listened to the gal get on the megaphone, and the first thing she said is, Phoenix is the #1 city in the nation in shooting black people. Well, that kind of...
What was the evidence of that? It may be
there,
true, but I'd like to know.
There wasn't. I immediately went to the internet and started looking up the FBI stats. Phoenix is not #1, not even in the top 10, not even in the top 20, not even in the top 25. It's number 27.
There you go.
Now, surprisingly, Tim, this will surprise you. Tucson was number 9.
No, that's too bad. Well,
So, but everybody's focused on Phoenix because we're the state capital of Arizona.
have they had any riots in Tucson?
I really don't know.
Does anybody in here know that? Did they have riots in Tucson like we had here? Why do I think they might not have? But then that's a really left-leaning city, so
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's not good. We don't want riots. I really feel for all the people that are actually protesting, but obviously, and I used to be a protester. I was one of the protesters of my generation. I helped organize them. Their anti-war protests is what I worked on in the 60s. That's what I did. I worked with the SDS, and the Ohio Interst-Action Group was a little different. And the SMP, the student mobilizations, that's what we were called, student mobilization. And anyway, we did those, but we didn't tear things down and burn them and that sort of thing. It was just literally the sign carrying, not occupying the streets because we weren't allowed. You did that, you would be extricated by force.
And the interesting thing about that is Tim and I were on opposite sides back in the day. I was one member of YAF, which is Young Americans for Freedom, which was just the exact opposite of where Tim was.
Absolutely.
And now today we're both on the same side. Strange things happen as you get older, don't
Yeah,
they,
you
Tim?
become an adult. Who knew? You start using your brain instead of your emotion.
But
oh my gosh,
the
that was me.
really important thing though that was something that I can't believe this Antifa group, and this is the first time we brought this up, that Antifa really is against free speech. And
Of course.
both your side and my side, when we were young men, we believed in free speech.
Yeah, of course.
We fought for free speech.
Absolutely, as is our history. But you have to remember the background of Antifa, which is they started in the Soviet Union, and their whole thing was, as a communist group, they were dismissive of any other group that wasn't them. Didn't matter if they were socialist or whatever they were, including the Nazis. They called them all fascists. So they were then the anti-fascists. Of course, here today we see them as being very fascistic.
They
That's
are
what
fascists.
They do, but they still call that name.
Winston
And
Churchill.
I don't know how much they are attached to the past, but
Winston Churchill said while he was still alive after he was the prime minister, he said, if fascism ever comes back into the world, it will come back as an anti-fascist group.
well,
And he was right.
no wonder they wanted to tear down Churchill's statue.
Well,
so.
Tim, one of the things that bothered me, of course, I'm a great student of the American Civil War
You are.
and the blacks' fight for equality, and the great emancipator, which was Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president. And we all know that the Republican Party was the party of anti-slavery. In England, when I was in London, they had this beautiful mock-up of Abraham Lincoln. Not a mock-up, a statue, very similar to what's in the Lincoln Memorial.
I have one in my office.
Antifa, believe it or not, actually defaced it. And I don't know if people really understand who Abraham Lincoln was and what he did for the blacks. We had what, 600,000 plus casualties in the Civil War, most of them white, fighting to free the black people and make them citizens of the United States.
And there was many casualties that didn't die as well.
That
We had a lot of war
afterwards,
casualties and wounded.
people with amputations and so forth, and died later. But you take this, the 13th Amendment codified freedom for the slaves. It destroyed slavery in the United States forever. We're the only country, I might add, that actually had a major war to free black people.
Yes, and we did. And they prospered here, as you can tell, because there are a lot of blacks in America, but in other places where they were also taken as slaves, certainly the Mideast comes to mind. There, you don't see that many of them because, well, they didn't prosper. They're not there.
And then
Fill in the blank.
the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment gave slaves for the first time citizenship in the United States.
And what was the right to vote?
And that was the 15th Amendment,
Right.
gave blacks the right to vote.
And here's what a lot
All
of-
passed by Republicans, I might add.
Of course they were, but here's what you need to know. It's even more critical. It's more detailed about the Constitution, and it's this. The 15th Amendment didn't just give black people the right to vote, it gave more white people than it did black the right to vote. Because prior to that time, in many states, you had to be a landowner in order to vote. So most white men couldn't vote. No white women, and most white men could not vote. So it was a huge impact. It's remembered today as, that for the blacks, but the actual history is different than the way it's remembered.
It is. And it gave the Irish, the O'Connors here, it gave the Irish even the right to vote. And now
they-
Jim's running for political office.
Who, as you also know, Irish people were one of the prime targets for slavery early in the history of the world because they were such hardy people and worked so hard.
And
so
especially-
many people got slaves from Ireland and transported them
And
around the
especially
world.
during the potato famine where the Irish almost became extinct in Ireland. They had to come to the United
Well,
States.
that was different. It's one thing coming as a slave.
Yeah.
But most people do realize, I think, that there were as many indentured slaves in America who made
Yes.
their passage
And
by
that's what-
becoming a slave for 7 years.
And that's what-
you're talking
and
about.
that's what they
As
were,
there were black
indentured.
slaves in the United States. But a lot of history is forgotten, and it's easy. And you mentioned it in the defacing of the Churchill trophy, the bust.
And Lincoln as well.
Lincoln. And it's this. Totalitarians, of which socialism is a totalitarian ideology, they all want to erase history and recreate it. That is what they do. You burn books if you're Nazis. You connect the church, the Catholic Church in Italy, if you were, what's the guy's name who was the fascist in Italy?
Mussolini.
Mussolini. That's what he did. So he connected the streets right with the Vatican as if they were connected to God. I mean, this is not a new thing. Totalitarians want total control. That's what you have to remember. They want your freedom back. And it will always be an eternal struggle for those of us in America and the people that we have pushed our Constitution and encouraged them to take upon all over the world, that those people, the ruling elite of every country, whether they're kings, queens, dictators, whatever you call them, El Duce, the problem is they want freedom back. They want your freedom in their hands, not in God's hands. And that's what the creators of this country wanted to do, is put our freedoms from God before us.
Into the
And they
people's
couldn't be
hands.
taken away. That's the idea. We can't let totalitarian win.
And-
If totalitarian wins here, the freedom light is out.
And that doggone Constitution keeps standing in
Pesky
their way.
Constitution, yeah, which they hate. And can you imagine how many of them would love to tear down the Statue of Liberty? They would have a field day taking that down.
Well,
That's
listen,
the world we live in.
we're kind of wound up now here, and we've got this soft music that Mr. O'Connor's playing.
Yes.
And when we come back, we're going to see another Mr. O'Connor. We're going to see Jim O'Connor, write-in candidate for the Arizona Corporation Commission. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Important job.
Wild Tiger right here in Phoenix. Whoa, big fella. Is reminding everyone to please give blood. By doing so, you may save the life of a child, surgery patient, or an accident victim. So give blood. It's safe, it's simple, and it's needed. That message courtesy of Wild Tiger at 2631 North Central Avenue in Phoenix, where they invite you in to enjoy the finest authentic Thai cuisine like Si Penang, Pad Thai, and ginger fish. Stop in or call 602-241-8995 for carryout. Wild Tiger is on the air because they care. It started 10 years ago as a conservative discussion group to combat leftist liberal ideas that were destroying the American way of life. Thus, the Arizona 2010 Project was born. Over the years, it grew and embraced the Tea Party and had a dynamic effect on local, state, and national elections. That's right, the political power of the movement has grown, and now, on its 10th birthday, the Arizona Project has moved to a bigger location and has expanded its vision. The Arizona Project is now producing podcasts, internet radio shows, video projects, along with the same history of obtaining impressive guest speakers and community leaders for our weekly meetings. The Arizona Project is now located at 3238 East Bell Road in Phoenix. For more information, call 602-677-1496. That's 602-677-1496. Please join us to promote the American values that have made this nation great and will continue to make it great. The Arizona Project, celebrating 10 phenomenal years.
Camelback Toyota, located conveniently on 16th Street in Camelback, off the 51 freeway, easy to get to right here in the city. You work downtown, stop on your way home, take a look at some beautiful new cars, used cars. Derek and John O'Malley Jr. and my mechanics in the back, Abe and Jereb and Tom, my man Jake, Felix, John Wicks is there, Levi. They are trained and trained heavily. They know everything backwards and forwards on any Toyota. Customer satisfaction, numero uno at Camelback Toyota.
Flynn's Flowers knows what the kid in you really wants.
Hey, hold it down.
The Flynn's Flowers snack pack is the perfect gift for anyone.
Thanks, this is just what I need.
Great. Now how about a kiss?
Don't push it.
Get a room.
The snack pack has cookies, chips, pudding, nuts, and lots of other goodies.
What's a goodie?
Read your script, kid.
See the snack pack live on the Flynn's Flowers website at flynn'sflowers.net. Order a snack pack today for that special.
Thank you.
Or send a snack pack to someone in the military. That's flynn'sflowers.net. Flynn's Flowers, the official florist of Air America Phoenix. The Flynn's Flowers snack pack. It's almost too big to eat.
These are great. Got any more?
What's that, number 9?
flynn'sflowers.net. Order a snack pack today and charge it.
Want a sucker?
Bubblegum.
That's flynn'sflowers.net.
Can I get a snack pack?
Come home to the gated community of Chrisman Peaks and 5,350 square feet of pure luxury. Floor plans include 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 4-car garage, home theater, even guest quarters. Breathtaking views are included at no extra charge. For more information, call 602-505-0004. Custom homes with the quality you expect, the value you demand. Call 602-505-0004 today.
Wow, we're back, and golly, we have Mr. O'Connor, our second Mr. O'Connor of the night. This is Jim O'Connor, along with Tim Horn, and we're real proud of Jim. He's running for the Arizona Corporation Commission as a write-in candidate. Now, some of you may wonder, what is the Arizona Corporation Commission? It's one of the most important divisions of our government, and here's what it does. We have, in any society, you have quasi-monopolies. In a real monopoly, people can charge whatever they want for a commodity, say electricity in this case, or water. These are things that they're very scarce, especially in the desert. Our water situation is really, we really have to control our water usage. So what the commission does is it steps in as a third person, and these are with private water companies, not governmental, and governmental utilities, or non-governmental utilities. And the important thing here is that you have customers, you have company, and they're constantly trying to get, the customers are trying to get the lowest rates possible. The company then tries to get a higher rate. And the Corporation Commission looks at it and says, here's the rates of returns that you should be getting for your investors. Now, there's other things there as well, because reliability of electric power and water are critical. And quite frankly, we're in a desert, but we have some very reliable power and water sources. And so with that background, I'd like to introduce Jim O'Connor. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Tim, for inviting me on to talk about this critically important race for Republicans and independents here in our state. This year, we're going to have a contest between Republican candidates in the general election versus the Democrat candidates. The risk is the Democrats will bring their variation of the Green New Deal if any one of them are elected. And there's a lot at risk. The Democrats had a very clever strategy that they implemented over the last number of months to attack all Republican candidates running for this position. We had 9 men and women that stepped forward to run for these 3 positions, and only 2 of the 9 made it on the ballot. The Democrats challenged the Republicans running for a dearth of signatures, and with the COVID-19, it's no surprise you didn't see people in front of supermarkets and libraries asking you to sign signature petitions from St. Patty's Day forward. So that really exposed our Republican candidates to challenge. So we're left with a status of Leah Marquez Peterson, a Governor Ducey appointment to the commission a year ago, and she's running for election for the next 4-year term. She made the ballot. She had about 10,000 signatures, comfortably made the ballot, and was not subject to challenge. They needed roughly 6,700 signatures to qualify, and most of the candidates had just around 7,000, give or take. No cushion, too close. And the Democrats played a hand in the legal system with the challenges, and they played it very, very skillfully, and our men and women were shut out.
Disqualified.
So Jim, there's 3 seats, but there's only 2 people that qualified. So that leaves a space that we can have a write-in candidate.
That's
which
correct,
you.
and that's what gives rise to the expression write-in, because the qualifying period ended on April 6th when people's signatures were due. So there's no more qualifying in that way. But a write-in candidate can file with the Secretary of State, as I had done the weekend I was asked to consider this, and gave it a lot of prayerful consideration, and thought Justin Olson, the elected commissioner from the last cycle, reached out to me because of our experience on the road together in so many candidate forums, and he liked my approach and my positions, because there we were talking about what we do when we got to the commission, what was important to us. But now that's all behind us. For Republicans, you had the I call it the beauty pageant. You had 9 candidates to choose from, and they didn't get
To select 3.
Yeah, well, the selection will be
The
made.
primary.
We could have had 9 people on the ballot going into
In
the
the primary
primary.
election.
That's a competitive primary. That's where Republicans are fighting other Republicans. We've got a situation where we don't even have enough Republicans
To cover the
on,
seats.
on the ballot to cover the seats. So we needed one candidate, and Justin Olson reached out to me, I think it was about the middle of May, so it's not quite 3 weeks ago, that reached out and said, Jim, with your very strong finish in the 2018 race, I was a candidate for this when there were 2 open seats. I finished 3rd with just shy of 207,000 votes. And I did that all with 109,000 of clean election money.
And this is a statewide, by the way.
Yes,
This
it
is a
is. It's a
statewide
state
election.
job.
So no matter where you are in the state of Arizona, you can write in Jim's name that's coming up in the election. I think it begins, at least the early ballots get mailed out, I believe, on the 8th of July.
Correct, and today is the 8th of June.
So 30 days.
We essentially have 1 full month to accomplish a very big mission. Leah Peterson, who's the closest one to achieving her $5 donations, we each need $1,800 to submit to Clean Elections.
You probably should explain that, because a lot of people don't know about what is a
Yeah,
clean
what is
election?
clean elections? Yeah.
Oh, okay. In 1998 here in Arizona, there was a proposition on the ballot that the voters voted for. There were 1 million votes cast, and the margin between those who wanted it and didn't want it was 10,000 votes. So there's another illustration of every vote counts all the time, because you never know when. But in this case, it passed. The history of clean elections, it's a nonpartisan, publicly funded opportunity for Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Green Party, independents. You don't even have to be a party, and you can apply for and run as a clean election candidate for any state office, state offices only. So that includes every member of the state Senate, of which there are 30, every member of the state House, of which there are 60. So the legislative bodies are statewide. Even though you're elected in legislative districts, what you say and do and vote on impacts the entire state.
So there's a pool of money that you can run to get part of, and apparently, but there are certain parameters that have to be met. And right now, all of the people running for corporate commission in the primary are running as clean candidates.
That's correct. And actually, given the ethics code that the commissioners passed in 2019, I would go out and predict that from this point forward, or from that point forward, we will never see another traditionally funded candidate of any party running for this office. We don't need to get in the weeds of that, because I'm missing the real emphasis on what the mission is. Leah Peterson is on the ballot, still needs 205 contributors. Eric Sloan is on the ballot. He was the sole survivor of the legal challenges, and he just scrapped through. He's quite a fighter, that young man.
Yes, he is.
And he's on the ballot. They've done their work, my fellow Republicans and fellow primary voters who will pull Republican ballots this summer. I've done the work by entering the contest and putting my name up, and my willingness to be present and active as a team. We're a slate whether we want to be or not. We've got 3 seats, and I want to introduce the risk factor again. If my name does not get 6,700 people or more writing Jim O'Connor on that ballot, if that doesn't happen, it's not my fault or the other 2 candidates I'm running with. The voters have an opportunity to do that. You, the listening audience, are the only ones that can do that. You can make that happen. So I'm the guy, not sweet talking, looking for your vote. I want to tell you what happens if you choose to do nothing. Do nothing, and we'll only have 2 candidates running against 3 Democrats. The Democrats won a seat in the 2018 cycle. We can give them another free seat right here, right now, on a 5-member board. And then, as Eric and Leah run to the finish line, if only one of them failed to get elected in the general, which is a bet we do not want to place, we've lost control of the Corporation Commission to the Green New Dealers on the Democratic side of the aisle for the next 4 years in a row. These are 4-year terms, and nobody is moving Sandra Kennedy, who got it 2 years ago, out of that spot. She got more votes than Justin Olson in the last general election by about 100,000.
And Jim, it's not just utilities either. play into the Green New Deal, but it's business regulation too.
Yes, it is.
And another thing to think about this is we need recovery of businesses and jobs over the coming 4 years after what we've been through with riots as well as the COVID-19. We need businesses to thrive and employ Arizonans. That commission is a key to make that happen by keeping utilities low and keeping good business regulation intact.
And the important thing to understand here between the two parties, I know almost everybody that's watching here is a Republican, so listen up. Democrats believe in regulation. They believe in some of the new technologies that are not proven, and they're forcing political or the utilities to buy into these political things. Like, we talk about solar energy. Solar energy is a good thing, but you cannot run an entire city the size of Phoenix or the size of the state of Arizona strictly with solar energy. I know that's something that everybody says, well, the sun's out all the time, but the sun's not out at night. And unless you have
I've noticed that.
unless you have phenomenal storage capacity, and because it's so hot here in the summer, these batteries will drain in just a matter of time. So I'll tell you this, if a Democrat gets in, look for another, ready for this? $100 a month. I'm convinced that through
Utility bill?
regulation, you're going to spend another $100 per month with some of these
That
ideas.
can be light.
And that would be a very light, and we can't afford this, believe it or not. As Tim has just said, the economy of the United States, and especially in the city of Phoenix, has been pretty much devastated, and a lot of people still aren't. I mean, the theaters aren't open.
The AMC announced they may go under.
Yeah, a lot of the places here, restaurants only have a few people that are attending still. Even if they want to do a capacity of 100, they can't take 100 people in at a time.
Ron, if I may, I want to bring this back to an
Sure.
action item for every listener you have out there.
Okay, listen up. This is an action item.
What you got to
And,
do?
and it's for you, not us here. Again, your Republican candidates have done their part. They're on the ballot, and I'm offering myself as the write-in candidate. We do not qualify for funding if we do not each deliver 1,800 $5 bills associated with Arizona registered voters for each 5. Again, the money is on a nonpartisan basis. We can accept money from anybody. So these things, and we're going to be able to put up on the screen some websites that you can go to, because there's no time to walk around the state of Arizona. We got to do this literally by the end of the first week of July, before those early ballots are in your hands, and that's a month from today. So over the next 4 weeks, it's imperative that we have everybody fill Leah up to the top, get her last 200 $5 bills. Eric Sloan still needs about 800 more. That's a big job, a heavy lift, but not if we get all of Arizona helping with the lifting. And then I just entered the race 2 weeks ago, and I'm stunned, and I know you'll be shocked to hear this number. In the last 2.5 weeks, I've received 350 $5 contributions, just over the Secretary of State's Clean Election website. Stunning. It took me 9 months of hard work to get 1,760 2 years ago. And by the way, the reason we get a cushion, we need 1,500 good ones, like signatures. You need good ones. I brought in 1,760 $5 forms and a check for the amount that totaled.
So why don't we tell them
only-
what a good one is?
Well, let me tell you how few good ones they accepted. They accepted 1,569. They threw out 191. They kept the money. They didn't throw the money
Right.
out. But they would not count 191 of those $5 bills.
Because why?
Oh, because there was a typo, a misspelling, an illegible this or that. The slightest of reasons, they just throw them off the
Or if you're
table.
not really an eligible voter, right?
Right, yeah, somebody could give $5 and just write Mickey Mouse
Which
down.
it's good to have the $5, but it won't count in that total of 1,800.
And that count is critical. So here's the payoff. If we're all dressed for the dance with public funding, Leah will get $116,000 in primary money the week after she files. Eric, when he files a little bit later, because he's got farther to go, he'll get $116,000. I don't qualify for any of that because I'm not on the ballot. I didn't have signatures. The equivalent hurdle, so I've got to get the 1,800 fives, and I've got to get 6,700 people to write in Jim O'Connor.
So-
Then I qualify for $175,000 of general election money,
Okay.
as do Lita and
Let's get
Eric.
this straight then. You cannot take fives until after
No,
the election?
No,
Right now.
I've been taking fives.
Okay, you can take those now.
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you have to be a registered voter, but you can be any political party?
Any party.
Any party.
Okay, so
Or
you,
none, or no party.
so you hear that out,
Yeah,
but you
if you-
must be an Arizona registered voter.
Voter. That's
I
correct.
mean, you can't be from
Arizona-
California.
Yeah, so
or-
you could be registered as an independent or a party not declared.
Doesn't matter, as long as you're a registered
If
voter.
you're a registered voter, you can give 5 to any candidate you want, and as many candidates. as
Okay, folks, so what we're looking at here for the sum total of $15, you can help all three of these candidates.
And we want all three.
And believe it, I've worked at the Corporation Commission for many, many, many years. Retired from there now. It's really important. You cannot believe the political differences that there are on that commission. The difference between a Republican and a Democrat is the difference between night and day. And believe
let me
me,
give you 2 better words. It's Green New Deal versus common sense.
Oh, that's perfect.
Good, I love
That's
it.
right. Right on it.
I love it. Okay, now, Jim, I can give you $5 tonight.
If you haven't given to me already, yes.
I have not. Okay. Or I can go to the Secretary of State's page.
Well,
There's the issue.
okay, that's going to be a discussion item.
Okay, is it Secretary of State or Clean Elections page? I don't know where we're going. We want to
Secretary
direct
of State.
people.
I want to interject one thing very briefly before I get to that, because that's literally a discussion item. Our AZGOP Chairman Kelly Ward today issued a
I saw that.
press release to 65,000 registered Republican voters statewide, encouraging them, all of you, to donate $5 to each of our 3 campaigns so that the Republican team gets the funding. Here's how much funding it is. Because it's a non-competitive primary, that is, Eric and Leah will not be spending a penny of that 116 grand each of them will have
They're already
fighting
in.
each other.
They already won the primary.
Right. So where that's going to go smartly is in investments now that will play out in the general election. So you put those 2 amounts together with 174,000 that we each get for the general. That, ladies and gentlemen, is $754,000 that your Republican team will have of public fund money, right, to take the battle.
And it only
to
costs
the
you
Democrats.
$15 to help get this kind of money and funding for our candidates.
And even in the aggregate, if we all turned in exactly 1,800, that's $9,000 apiece. You both, gentlemen, are business guys. How about a $27,000 investment that returns $754,000
I'd take it.
in 30 days?
That would be wonderful. And that's what makes it so special. So that's why it's really important to act now. You're going to go out to the addresses we're going to give you. Mike, are you going to set those up? Are you going to put them out there? So you're going to see these, each one of the 3 candidates we've talked about, Leah Marquez Peterson, Eric Sloan, and our friend right here, Jim O'Connor, need to have you to act. Give them each $5. Go to their websites, we're going to show you. Give each of them $5. The best $15 you'll ever spend for conservative politics in this state. You're going to help Arizona business, keep our utilities low, keep this great Green New Deal away from ruining our state, and elect common sense people instead. And that will give us the control that will show for really 4 years of this will impact you, your children. It's going to even impact your grandchildren. This is a big deal. It's small for you, but it's very big for conservatives in this state. So we'll have absolute control to make the right common sense decisions and affect that commission, which is one of the most powerful in the state, for 4 years. And you can do it. $5. First thing is $5 to each of those 3 candidates. And then on primary day, you will mark on the ballot where you see Leah Marquez Peterson's name. You will mark on your ballot where you see Eric Sloan's name. And then, and this is critical, you must write in Jim O'Connor. You can actually write in that name on your ballot. So it's mark, write in. Mark, write in under Arizona Corporation Commission. And that, with your $5, that's it. We'll get $700 and some thousand to spend in those, between those 2 campaigns from the Clean Elections. Clean Elections was set up so, one of the reasons behind it was so you don't owe any big givers, any big utilities or anything like that. So that's one of the ideas behind it. Here's a chance to do something really good for very little on your part. So go to those websites, $5 to each one of these 3 candidates, and then Mark Peterson, Mark Sloan, and write in Jim O'Connor. It'll probably be the first time any of you have ever written in a candidate. So it's different, but you'll see a space on the ballot for a write-in. And that's where you simply write in Jim O'Connor.
And Tim, the important thing here is get your friends to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've got to reach out there, and if everybody can get 4 or 5 or 6 of their relatives and friends to write in Jim O'Connor's name, the 6,700 write-in votes doesn't seem like a lot out of 1 million that are cast, but if you don't write it down, it's not as easy as connecting the dots. You've got to go for it.
So it's time. So do your first write-in ever. I've never done a write-in candidate
haven't
myself,
either.
but I will this election, and it's going to be Jim O'Connor. I know Jim. By the way, I know Jim. You can go out to his website and see a lot of good things about him. But this man, he's the common sense, business savvy kind of guy that we need up there to join Justin Olson, who's there. Eric Sloan, also a terrific guy. And Leah is on it already, and she's shown herself to be a conservative. So let's help these people win and represent us in this thing. Common sense versus the Green New Deal? Are you kidding me? For the price
This
of
is a
less
no-brainer.
than 3 coffees, you can impact it and generate out of those $15, what, over $200 for each $5 you give, right around $200, isn't it?
It's the greatest thing since sliced bread in terms of an economic bet. We Republicans would be foolish not to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And risk a Green New Deal possibility, and that's a very real possibility.
And if you studied what the Green New Deal was with AOC, it's devastating. When she was talking about that, Amazon was going to build a multi-billion-dollar facility in New York State, and they decided
in her district,
In her
in her district,
Yeah.
and they pulled out. Some of it based on that. Of course, she made some real dumb statements as well.
Of course.
But I mean, they were going to hamper these businesses, and guys, business is what makes the world go round.
Yeah, and for any Democrats that might be listening, if businesses don't produce wealth, then you don't get money for your programs. Now, I hear the music starting to play, but Jim, we need to have you say what these websites are so that people that aren't seeing this will be able to know where to go.
Thank you. Mine is the www.writeinjimoconnor.com. Facebook, Write In Jim O'Connor. Legal name of my campaign, Write In Jim O'Connor. Vote for Leah, LEA.com. And
We're going to have to cut you off.
EricSloan.com.
Can you stay just for a few minutes after the break, and then we'll
And tell those
then-
again. Or we'll tell them for you. All right, we're out? Okay.
Well, we're just
thanks.
about out. So, if you can stay just for a few more minutes, when we come back, we'll let you have a few minutes with that, and then
We
we
will
can
repeat
move
them
on.
for you is the point. So stay tuned for a minute as we go to commercial break, and we'll repeat those for you.
We'll be right back.
China is the oldest culture in the world, with a written history dating back some 3,500 years. And even 3,500 years ago, China's civilization was old. What do they attribute their longevity to? Healthy eating. Put some longevity in your life and enjoy fine Chinese cuisine at Yao's Restaurant at 2487 South Gilbert Road in Gilbert. For takeout and catering, call 480-899-0308. That's 480-899-0308. Yao's Fine Chinese Cuisine.
Do you have a face for radio? I know I do. And when I found how easy it was to get started in an interesting, informative radio program, I jumped at the chance. Since AM radio program is being replaced by podcasting, you can even create your own programming from your home. Hi, I'm Ron Lutters, better known as Uncle Ronnie on my Fighting Back radio program. If you have a business, a hobby, or a passion and you would like to share that with others, then podcasting may be for you. With strong desire, some talent, and a deep passion, you too could get your radio message on your very own radio programming on Hub Radio Phoenix Network. We have one of the best broadcast engineers in Arizona to help you every step of the way. If you are interested in the enjoyment of podcasting, call me at 602-677-1496 to discuss the effective and affordable way to own your very own radio program. That's 602-677-1496.
Ever wonder why the current leadership of Phoenix lacks growth, excitement, and a 21st century vision of a world-class city? I'm Neil DeSanti, running for mayor of the city of Phoenix, our beautiful capital of Arizona, where I was born and raised, went to school, and worked at many jobs. My background in business and industry has introduced me to a variety of fields which I believe will help me bring to this city a new level of wealth and prosperity. I'm just as concerned as you are that rapid growth must be properly managed to maximize the personal growth of our city and its residents. Expanding growth requires thoughtful management for the city, its residents, and future generations. If you share this same vision and agree it's time for a change, then please join me by supporting my candidacy for mayor of the city of Phoenix. Go online and sign my petition to provide the next generation of leadership for this rapidly expanding metropolis. Thank you for your support and signature. Candidate for mayor, City of Phoenix, I am Neil DeSanti, and I approve this message.
It's coming, and it's coming fast. Hungry for something new in the fast food industry? Tired of stale hamburgers, fries that taste like wallpaper paste when cold? High-priced fatty foods that even a dog won't eat? Well, something new is coming, and it's coming fast. The Meatball Express. Say what? The Meatball Express. Pure and wholesome beef, pork, chicken, turkey, or even shrimp meatballs topped with your favorite gravy. Red sauce garnish or served with hot, fresh garlic bread. The Meatball Express.
I want to live better and do more for the environment. I just want to be healthy, but I don't even know where to start.
I just subscribed to an awesome magazine called Green Living with great tips, events, and recipes that help me go green and live healthy.
Green Living magazine will inspire you to make eco-conscious decisions for a healthy life and a healthy planet. Pick up Green Living today at Fry's, Whole Foods, and 500 other locations statewide. Or subscribe at greenlivingaz.com. Find us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Live, work, and play green with Green Living magazine.
Hello and welcome back. Jim O'Connor has left the building.
Yes.
But Michael O'Connor's still here, and he's running the board, and he's driving this thing, and we're not sure where we're going, but we'll just trust in him. How's that, Tim?
It's fine. I'm still here, and so's Ron.
We have John Rosado here.
Yes, we do.
John's going to do a couple of things here for us. But before we leave, we want to thank Jim O'Connor for being here. We'd also like to thank him for answering the call of duty. I think when you are not planning on running and somebody says, help, and you jump in the race, more power to him. Kudos
Absolutely.
to Jim.
He's a good man.
And we were talking during the break, and Tim has some information here that we were talking about. We're going to have a video coming up, not tonight, but it's just about done, and we're going to send it around to everybody. But we want you to know where to send the fives. Now, folks, this is $15, 3 candidates, and as Jim O'Connor said, "Wow, where can you get an investment like that?" It's the most phenomenal
It's a great
thing.
return on your $5 each.
And yeah, I know most of you can blow $15 somewhere during the week. So
It used to
let's
cost
get
that
'em
much
on.
to have two people go to the movies.
Yeah.
Now you can't go
And
to
the movies are closed, so take your movie money and
So
give
take
it
your movie money and put it in as follows. The three websites that we were talking about that Jim was hitting just as we were going to break, and it was a hard break, as we say. So they are, number one, writeinjimoconnor.com. That's writeinjimoconnor. It's spelled OCONNOR. 3 O's, 2 N's. No apostrophe. Just writeinjimoconnor.com. The next one, $5 there. $5 to Eric Sloan, ERIC, not a K or something weird. ERIC Sloan, spelled the usual way, SLOAN.com. EricSloan.com. I'll repeat them again here in a second. And finally, votefordleah.com. That's votefordleah, L-E-A, nothing else, .com. So the three websites, writeinjimoconnor.com, ericsloan.com, and votefordleah.com. Those are the three spots. $5 to each one of those places, and people will get us over $700,000 of money to run conservatives in the general election. So go there. Now there are some people that will go to do this at the Secretary of State site, and as Jim was going off stage and off camera here, he made it clear to me they've been having some problems taking money there, and it's not doing good. So the best thing to do, despite what you might have heard from other sources, is to go to those three websites and put your $5 there. That way the candidates get it contributed to them directly. They pass it on to the state. Everything gets done. The count is right. It's verified. And it's up to you. Really, it's up to you. To bring in $700,000 and some thousand, all we need is 1,800 people to deliver 5 each to these candidates. $15 each gets us that much money. So that's like $200 return on 5. Maybe more than that. I didn't actually figure it out, but it's a lot.
And the important thing here is that, you know, you're going to more than make up those $15 on Republican-based costs for your power, your water, your gas. Believe it or not, you're going to save that much because with this new Green Deal, it's going to create shortages. We don't have shortages here. Can't even remember the last time we had a brownout in Arizona, or at least in Phoenix.
What we do know is when common sense disappears, stupidity steps in. And we've never been a stupid state in the past. Let's go for common sense. Let's get these 3 conservatives elected. The power is literally in your hands. You can use your credit card. I think they may even take PayPal. They definitely can use your credit card, and they can use your common sense in going for these 3 candidates now. Thank you so much, and let's help those guys win for the Arizona Corporation Commission.
Now, one of the things is our good friend John Rosado. And John, you know, the 3 of us have something in common.
Glasses?
Yeah, we're all wearing glasses. Well, you're not wearing glasses.
I just took them off.
We're all wearing headsets.
Yes.
But we have all had radio programs.
Yes, we have.
Yes, mine was on KKNT.
And I was on KKNT 960, The Patriot.
And
Yes, it is.
KFNX. And Mr. O'Connor was the board op over there.
He knows everything.
Yeah, pull the mic over so you can.
So I can talk into it properly?
Yeah, now we can hear you. So, at any rate, this is the battle of the talk show hosts, I guess. We're all here. John, you've kind of moved on here and left the radio show over there. It got very costly.
Yeah.
And Tim, the same thing. And
I had sponsors, but you know, the big thing about having your own radio show on weekends is you really don't know how you're doing because they don't keep stats on that.
Yes.
So you get callers and all that. And thank you to my sponsors. I really appreciate your help in putting on the Tim Horn Show. But we're still in politics. We're talking. We are here as warriors for conservatism. John's one of them. He's going to tell you about some important information you won't hear elsewhere. Let's get it, John.
Tim, before we do that, I just wanted to tell you, if you remember, I
Kelly
know,
was on Talk Show.
I know, John's gonna have his choice. I don't know if you remember, many years ago when I went to Washington, D.C., and I was appointed the state president of Phyllis Schlafly's
absolutely remember.
Eagle Forum.
Gee, man.
You or I don't remember who called whom, but I was there at that meeting, and we were talking from Washington, D.C. on the Tim Horn Show.
You were.
Yes.
You were. You called in, and I talked to you there. And that was great. Phyllis Schlafly, a wonderful conservative. So, having said that, Ron and I have a great history, long history together, and this guy, most of you probably know a lot about Ron, but he's the real deal. He really is. He works for conservative things every day in ways you have no idea. I mean, he's at it. Anyway, great guy. I'm happy to know him. John is also a super Republican guy, and he's got information you're not going to hear elsewhere. Should we throw it to him?
Yes, this is, many of you, no, relax, Tim, but I just want to tell you this. In Arizona, we have a senatorial race coming up. And,
Yes, we do.
And we have that, the Republican is there's a primary challenge, but the senator is Martha McSally, and she is running against a Democrat. Whoever wins the primary will be running against a guy named Mark Kelly. And we've talked a little bit about Mark Kelly on prior shows, but John wants to give us a special report on Mr. Kelly and why he is not the best candidate for this job. John, take it away.
Thank you. But, folks, before I get started, I want to tell you something. Never, ever go to the border with Ron. Never. That's a subject for another day. But
spend the night in a Mexican jail, okay?
Right. He almost got us a night in the Mexican jail at their with their food and all that good stuff. But anyway, I digress.
Taco Rebellion.
Yeah, right. Taco Rebellion. But anyways, what I want to talk about is Mark Kelly. And I'm going to set the stage first by talking about a little bit of who he is happy to have support him. How many of you remember, you can put your hands up, how many of you remember Tiananmen Square?
Mr. O'Connor's
This is the correct way to put your hands up if you remember Tiananmen Square.
You're right, exactly.
In China.
Because two things happened in Tiananmen Square. And I'll get into both of those. Here's some things you may not remember. First of all, in June 4, 1989, the Chinese army troops stormed Tiananmen Square in Beijing in response to the student protests in support of democracy. Where does that happen? Gee, we're trying to tear down democracy right now with the Antifa.
In our own country.
Well, we aren't.
No, we're not.
But
others are.
Antifa is. And Antifa, by the way, is supported by George Soros in a very heavy way. Financially, yes. Now, it wasn't only the protest. The demonstration in Tiananmen Square were not the only pro-democracy protests in the country. At that time, they occurred in hundreds of cities, including Shanghai, Chengdu, Nanyang, and to be sure, it wasn't the first time protesters had filled the square in Beijing. A space for public protests. Gee, they got free speech there. But wait till you find out how they take care of their free speakers. More than a decade earlier, in what became known as the Tiananmen Incident, a similar but smaller scale crackdown on protesters spawned outrage and led to a reshuffling of the nation's top leadership. Information about the massacre is still censored. I wonder why that is. The massacre occurred 31 years ago, and the death toll is estimated to have ranged from hundreds of people up to 10,000 people dead in Tiananmen Square. But information about the protests is highly censored in China. To date, the term Tiananmen Square related phrases, words cannot be searched on the internet inside the People's Republic. However, many photographs and accounts of the incident are available online from other countries despite the Chinese effort to censor the event. You know, like tanks running over people, trucks running over people, little things like that.
Wow.
The battle was one-sided and became a bloodbath. On June 4, thousands of troops and 50 trucks along with a few tanks, entered Tiananmen Square and fired into the crowds with real bullets, not rubber ones, and not tear gas. The protesters stayed their ground, throwing Molotov cocktails and rocks, but they were no match for the Chinese military. The battle continued through the morning hours, leaving the area littered with bodies of protesters and some soldiers. Remember,
But there weren't any guns that the citizens had because they weren't allowed to have any. They weren't allowed to fight back.
Right, and I get into that later.
Good.
Now, folks, what's common here? Let me read you a list. What is common? And you can call us and talk to us, 602-475-9844. SARS, flu, 2003, came from Hunan, China. H1N1, called swine flu, 2009, from Hunan, China. COVID-19, 2020, from Hunan, China. See a pattern there? 95% of our drugs come from China. You know, your insulin, your other stuff. Cell phones are made in China. Our trees are cut in our forests and shipped to China, milled and shipped back here because they're cheaper. And then they go into our homes all across America. Do you get a pattern here, folks?
What's the pattern?
You tell me. I think I was descriptive. The
Well, I know
pattern
what they are,
is
but what would you say the pattern that you see there is?
our supply chain is from China.
Well, some of them are, yeah. And important ones, right?
Yes.
Important ones. Medicine, come on. And we don't need a supply chain for viruses that kill our people. But the
No,
point
we
is,
get that anyway.
Yeah, is why does this happen? Why did it happen the last time? For me, I look at it and go, you know, history may show, well, these are acts of war. If we did this and sent a virus around the world the way China did, I think China would consider it an act of war against them, would they not?
Oh,
Chinese
yes, they
people, you
would.
can call in 602-475-9844. We would love to hear from you and your opinion.
Now, what's wrong with this picture that we just talked about? China can shut our country down.
Especially the medical portion where they were dependent on
Well,
them.
more than that. They got, however, well, China only does 4% of our steel production. That's all we get from them. We
And our
get a lot more from
AR-15s
other
are made
places.
here, I believe, so that's good.
Yeah. Now, there's some other things about China. The Chinese government used $1.5 billion to purchase the White House from the Biden era.
Oh, yes.
How do you mean purchase it?
Well, if I was to give you $1.5 million, would you, my friend, wouldn't you be willing to buy, to give me insight into Ron's show?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But for me personally, no, that would not be enough for me to sell my soul to the Communist Party of China.
Are you
No.
talking about Bill Clinton and during that era? Or are you talking
No.
about Hunter Biden?
I'm talking about Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah.
Who received a lot of bailout money from Ukraine. Now they are purchasing our future senator, hopeful from Arizona, Mr. Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly does fly a Chinese flag on his motorcycle. He is so proud of this.
I've seen that on television. As a matter of
Why,
fact.
I've seen that too, but why is he proud of that? What is it that he's trying to say? That he's a communist? I don't think so. He's trying to say something. What is it, really? What does he think it means? I know what I see, but what does he think it
it's
means?
because he thinks the Chinese are the future of the world.
Oh, that's great.
I think there's a little more to that. I think he sees some get-rich-quick schemes here. I mean, I know that some of the things he's talking about, some of these companies that he is part ownership of, and that the Chinese communists.
So for putting his astronaut name on with different Chinese companies, he gets compensation? Is that what's going on? Is that where he's getting this money?
His compensation comes out elsewhere, which I'm going to get into next.
Okay.
Kelly has been reticent to talk about the investment by a Chinese company in his commercial space exploration venture. He co-founded Worldview Enterprises. The company tech giant Tencent, the company tech giant Tencent, which is owned by the Chinese government.
Which is the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes, is one of the world's largest internet enterprises and owns the Chinese social media platform WeChat. The text platform has more than 1 billion users and is suspected of monitoring all of them with activity
Well, of course.
inside and outside of China.
But America does the same thing.
That's what I was just
Yes,
gonna say.
I know.
Facebook does a lot of that with us.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
And the
I
NSA
agree.
apparently does too, according to Snowden.
Yes.
Yes. And to my mind, Snowden was a hero.
I think so too. And I'd like to see some evidence from anybody that can show it that says he wasn't. But I
Yeah.
said last week, if you haven't seen Citizen 4, which is his autobiographical video he did of his whole effort to secure that information and show it to the world about the NSA keeping every one of our phone calls, every email, everything you say, do, where you are, everything from Google, everything from Microsoft, they get it all. They get it all. So that's bad. Should be changed.
Yes, I agree.
So wrong.
In the fall,
President Trump, hear us.
If you're listening in tonight.
in the fall of 2014, the CEO of Worldview Enterprises, the company Kelly co-founded, announced during a visit to Beijing that Tencent had invested an undisclosed amount of money in the Tucson-based travel venture. So in answer to your question that you asked earlier is how much? I don't know.
All right. Okay, so here's my message for Mr. Kelly. Look, pal, you're an astronaut. You know how small the world is. You've been up there and looked down at this place. If you're supporting America's fiercest enemy, what the hell are you doing, man? Quit that. Disavow that and get away from it. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're an affiliate of the Chinese Communist Party running to be an Arizona senator, and I can't abide that.
Or resign your position from the race.
Get away from it. Quit it.
Get out of the race.
Jeez. Yeah, drop out. Do something other than what you're doing.
A commie.
And they griped about
fellow
Trump and
traveler.
having international investments. This guy is doing business with the Chinese communists. Are you kidding me? If they found out that Donald Trump had been doing that when they did all their research looking, they even said, oh, he's in business with the Russians. That fact was found out not to be true. And yet they say nothing about this candidate that they want for senator. They say nothing about it. And he's in league with the communist Chinese. Are you kidding me?
Can we call him a fellow traveler?
We can call him a lot of names. We won't say on the air.
No.
But you should be at home right now because that's what we're facing. That's what the Democrats are bringing us. Think about that. It's a freaking outrage.
Now,
Sorry, John.
World. Gee, I'm glad I'm getting you all stirred up here.
Man.
That's fun. Now, Worldview Enterprises announced that it had received more funds from Tennyson. How much total? No one knows.
Yeah, they're not accountable.
Along with 3 other venture capital firms. Remember, China purchased the White House during the Obama administration for a mere $1.5 billion. Tennyson was already under intense U.S. scrutiny before the COVID-19 world crisis. In addition to the surveillance suspicions, Tennyson also sparked a U.S. backlash for suspending its streaming of National Basketball Association games after the Houston Rockets general manager praised Hong Kong democracy protests fall. So who's the Communist Chinese after? What do they want here?
Your freedom.
I think it's very obvious. They don't want freedom.
And one of the things, I don't know if it's further on in your discussion, but Worldview also does work for the United States Defense Department. And
now that I did not know.
Yes, they do, and the unfortunate thing is they're working for the United States Defense Department, and they have a branch that's doing espionage against the United States Defense Department. And this Mr. Kelly is a fellow traveler. I don't know any other word to say. It's just a fellow traveler.
There should be no association with anybody
Absolutely
running
not.
for national office, any office in this country that's associated with the Communist Party. And that includes at least 65 of the House members that we have in Congress, all of whom have identified themselves as members of the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. Look it up. It's the largest socialist/communist group that we have in the United States. Now, I just want to ask you, and I've said it before, how many people do you think are capitalists that are in the Politburo or in the party in China? None. They would never allow their enemy inside their government. And yet, we have people running around here. The third in line for the presidency of the United States was one of those members of the DSA. And she says proudly, I'm Nancy Pelosi. I'm just a Democrat socialist.
And
That's
she
all.
prays for our president.
Yeah, and she prays for the president. Get out of here.
And by the way, I have a name for socialists. A socialist is communist without a gun.
Well, it's like communism light. But the truth is that Marx used those terms interchangeably. Socialism and communism. They're both part of the same thing at any rate, which is a totalitarian regime where the state is your religion. And it's what we see, unfortunately, now with all these people running around bowing down to other people that are representing the Democratic Party in the nation, bowing down to people who are rioting in the street.
Taking a knee.
Taking a knee. Oh, we represent all the people. Yeah, you should represent them, but you're not one of them. No. You got a job to do it. Enforce the laws on everybody and everybody equally. Get your knee off of everybody's neck. Just enforce the law as well as you can. It's just insane. And then we have a guy who's associated with the Communist Party running for senator.
As a Democrat. Of course, you know what party they would be. Democrats.
Oh, they'd be Democrats, and he is a Democrat.
Despite...
Hey! We're going to have to hold this over, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Well, you're doing a good job.
You're
John.
doing
great,
an excellent
great
job. But yes, the Democrats are trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. I don't know if you've seen some of Kelly's commercials, like, this is a non-Republican Democrat issue.
Yeah, I'm just for the people of China.
I just love
apparently.
the people. Yeah.
Yes, the people of China.
I'm just for the people. That's me. Look at me.
Yeah.
Kelly,
Okay,
if
listen,
you happen to be listening, call us.
Yeah, we'd love to. Please. We'd love to hear
Mark
from
Kelly, here's the number, 602-475-9844.
Please dispute what's being said
Call us
here.
in here, Mr. Kelly.
I'd like to get
we got to go. We'll be right back because we're not giving up on this one. You need to stick around because it's really important you know these details.
Back in a minute.
It started 10 years ago as a conservative discussion group to combat leftist liberal ideas that were destroying the American way of life. Thus, the Arizona 2010 Project was born. Over the years, it grew and embraced the Tea Party and had a dynamic effect on local, state, and national elections. That's right, the political power of the movement has grown, and now, on its 10th birthday, the Arizona Project has moved to a bigger location and has expanded its vision. The Arizona Project is now producing podcasts, internet radio shows, video projects, along with the same history of obtaining impressive guest speakers and community leaders for our weekly meetings. The Arizona Project is now located at 3238 East Bell Road in Phoenix. For more information, call 602-677-1496. That's 602-677-1496. Please join us to promote the American values that have made this nation great and will continue to make it great. The Arizona Project, celebrating 10 phenomenal years.
Secrets of the Telephone Company and the Benefit of Pain. An all-new high-tech telecom thriller by Seth Friedman, filled with mystery, intrigue, and murder.
You are authorized to complete your mission.
Secrets of the Telephone Company and the Benefit of Pain. Now Adele paperback. Don't answer the phone.
Wild Tiger right here in Phoenix. Whoa, big fella. Is reminding everyone to please give blood. By doing so, you may save the life of a child, surgery patient, or an accident victim. So give blood. It's safe, it's simple, and it's needed. That message courtesy of Wild Tiger at 2631 North Central Avenue in Phoenix, where they invite you in to enjoy the finest authentic Thai cuisine like Si Penang, Pad Thai, and ginger fish. Stop it or call 602-241-8995 for carryout. Wild Tiger is on the air because they care.
Sight is a very precious gift. If the quality of your eyesight is becoming a concern, see a world of difference at Family Eye Care Associates. With over a quarter-century of experience in the Valley, Family Eye Care Associates offers complete diagnosis and treatment of cataracts, glaucoma, diabetes and dry eyes, and thorough retinal evaluations with dilated exams and retinal imaging. Specialized doctors, highly trained and certified technicians, licensed opticians, pediatric and geriatric care, contact lens fittings, and high-quality lenses and frames at prices you'll like. And as always, all of this comes with friendly, personalized service. We accept most insurances and have 2 convenient locations in both the East and West Valley. Give Family Eye Care Associates a call now. In Scottsdale, dial 480-419-3900. For the Glendale area, dial 602-843-2900. Family Eye Care Associates is a proud member of Vision Source, a network of premier eye care practices.
Hello, is this Mark Kelly? Wrong number. Okay, well, Mark Kelly did not call in, John.
You still got a chance.
And there's still a chance. We got a half an hour left, 602-475-9844. And we're expecting your call, Mr. Kelly. And John, why don't you continue on? If we haven't heard more than enough to disturb us even further.
Oh, I got more to disturb you. Despite the transition to lucrative government work, the company, that is Worldview Enterprises, also has its share of setbacks. The balloon explosion in late 2017 caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages to its 120,000 square foot launch facility, the construction of which was funded by a $15 million loan from Pima County. Folks, that's you.
Taxpayers.
So Pima County, left-wing Tucson, put up the money for that?
They did.
And the communists were in it at the same time?
They were in it at the same time.
Oh, man. Come on, Tucson. Come on.
You're bailing out a company that's partially owned by the Communist Party of China.
The company started at by Kelly originally had a goal of hiring 400 plus employees by 2020, but last year had less than 100 and laid off 10 in an effort to reorganize. Now, doesn't that sound like great management to you? Do you really want Kelly managing our government?
Was he also the manager of Solyndra by any chance?
No, that was Elon Musk. I think
don't
it was
think it
Elon.
was.
No, I don't think Musk.
No, it wasn't Musk.
No, Musk is a better. Oh no, no.
It's hard
I
to
don't
find
know
out
who
who
the
was in
name.
charge of
Musk
Right.
owns SpaceX.
Friends of Obama, I think, is what they called
It was
themselves.
Friends of Obama that took the money.
Once again, Democrats.
Now, last month, it endured another round of layoffs and furloughs because of the coronavirus.
You mean the Chinese Communist virus?
Yeah,
the
right.
Wuhan flu?
The Hunan political. That's racist, isn't it, if we say that?
No, it's not.
No.
It's true.
It's true.
Racist. Come, please.
Anyway, the county eventually stands to gain $4 million in
Chokes him up. Just trying to say it.
sorry about that, in interest payments from Worldview Launch Facility loan, but has given the firm a forbearance for payments during the COVID-19. Thanks, guys, for purchasing, helping out there in a time of need for Mr. Kelly. The more stable stream of government contracts also doesn't provide as much local tax revenues as one might expect. While the company is located in Tucson, it's headquartered in Delaware, which allows company to lessen their state corporate income tax burden. Isn't that wonderful?
And
You front the money, folks, in Tucson in your taxes, and yet you don't get the repay.
Delaware does.
Yeah, Delaware does.
common sense.
Kelly's aversion discussing Tennyson's investment in this company and campaign comes at a time when other lawmakers are making priority of disclosing financial ties to the Chinese tech behemoth. Last week, Rep. Michael McCall, the ranking Republican in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, disclosed his wife's investment in Tennyson, acknowledging a purchase of between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of share. That's from Real Clear Politics.
Now, this is a Republican?
The Chinese are purchasing our politicians.
Well, wouldn't that be interference in our government and elections? We purchased some of theirs, but they called spies, and they put them to death, I think, with their hands.
Well, that would do, but don't forget what we did, what Obama did. He sent people to to work against Netanyahu because he didn't like him.
Oh, that's right. He interfered in the Israeli elections while complaining that we were trying to get
Russia might have
Russia was
interfered in
having
ours,
influence here,
which they did
Right.
not.
But the real interference was the dossier from Russia that Hillary's campaign and the DNC paid for.
Yes.
And I know for independents that don't watch anything but the left-wing news.
DNC is the Democrat National Committee.
Yeah, that dossier thing, you ought to
Keyword
read up about that.
Democrat.
Yes. Now let me get back to Mark Kelly.
Yes.
He wants common sense gun laws. What does that mean? He avoids answering that question.
Well, apparently all the guns should be made in China.
Well,
apparently.
yeah, apparently.
Through his company, Worldview Enterprises.
Arizona families. This is from his website. Arizona families regularly experience a tragedy of gun violence. Every year, the state sees an average of 244 homicides, 669 firearms, suicide, 582 non-fatal shootings, and 553 accidental shootings. These numbers have not been verified. They are from Kelly's website.
So how many people have we lost in Arizona to COVID-19?
I don't know.
It's a little over 1,000, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of those total too?
These dead only is 244.
I said 244, that's a big deal for him on his website. But what about the 1,000 that just got killed in the last couple of weeks from his buddies in China? Is he going to put that on his website too? What a tragedy that is. Why do I think he's not going to?
I don't think he will either. Now, this is from the Kelly website. Mark and Gabby Giffords co-founded Giffords, one of the nation's leading gun safety organization that brings family together. Gun owners, veterans, law enforcement, and others to advocate for stronger gun safety laws that save lives.
Well, gun safety is good.
Yes,
I'm
it
a
is.
shooter, like I know you guys are, and safety is important.
And at the same time, they'll badmouth the NRA, which is probably the premier gun safety organization in America.
Yes.
And it was for gun safety that I taught my 9-year-old boy how to use an AR-15. And he was good. So that's part of safety training, right?
Yeah. Now, Mark will stand up to the gun lobby, he says, and he will fight to protect Arizona kids from communities from gun violence. He will keep kids and communities safer by working to pass universal background checks. Folks, we already have that.
I was just going to say, we have universal.
We have it.
So now you're going to have to do 2 of them?
Apparently.
You do one. Okay, that's good. Now you got to do another one right now. Okay, well.
And he's doing this to keep guns out of the hands of stalkers, domestic abusers, and reduce mass shootings and suicides by allowing families and law enforcement to ensure dangerous individuals and people in crisis don't have access to firearms.
Well,
doesn't that sound like get red flag laws?
Well, it does sound like red flag laws. We do need to do something, and we do some things to help that. I don't know what the answer is, but it's an important question, don't you think? I mean,
it is. But let's look at
criminals
the stats.
always find a way to get guns, even though law-abiding citizens, if they say you can't have an automatic, as we discussed, you won't have an automatic because that's the law.
But
let's look at the stats. Arizona, Phoenix, is the 5th largest city in the nation.
That's right. Metropolitan area.
And New York is the largest city, followed by Chicago, LA, and San Francisco.
I think Houston.
Now, who has the highest gun? And we're number 5. So would you think we should have be number 5 on the list of gun-toting killers? Or not? In fact,
I wouldn't expect so.
In fact, we know Illinois is the worst in the nation. If Illinois was a country, they would be the 3rd worst countries in the world.
John,
I just wanted gun homicides.
Just wanted to pass this on. This is very pertinent here. I don't know if any of you can see that, the Liberty Daily, and if you haven't gotten to know this publication, please do. Democrat Chicago sees its deadliest day in 60 years. 18 murders in 24 hours. And then, of course, did these lives matter to the Democrats? 18 murders.
No.
And there were something like 80 other people that were shot. And this is in a gun-free zone.
So that was twice as many. I'm assuming they were black people, probably.
Yes.
That's usual. That was twice as many black people that got killed that weekend in Chicago than all the rest of the country.
That was just in 24
by
hours.
cops last year. Yeah. By cops last year. Now think about that.
Yeah.
And yet we have riots.
Folks, we're being hoodwinked. Woo. We're being hoodwinked by the media, and we're being hoodwinked by the This is a Democrat city, and yet it's gun-free zone. And yet more people get killed in Chicago. More black people get killed in Chicago.
By blacks.
Yeah, by blacks.
The best thing I think to remember in all this is to look at the media that we consider to be the mainstream or mainstream media. Don't think about that. They're not biased. They're just part of the Democratic Party. If you look at it that way, you'll understand it and not be upset.
Let me continue on and get back to Phoenix.
Yeah,
Phoenix is the 5th largest city.
Run out of time.
And Phoenix is the 5th largest city, which should be, if their projections are right, the 5th largest in crime rate. We are not. Phoenix is number 67 from the top, according to the FBI.
How can that be with
staff.
all those wild westerners carrying guns and everything out there in that
That's
state?
exactly why those
How's that
wild
possible?
westerns carry guns, and the criminals have no idea who have them.
That makes common sense.
Because people carry guns out here.
Yes.
And a polite gun-carrying society is a very polite society.
Yes. Now, when Gabby Giffords was shot, it was near Tucson at a campaign get-together.
Yes, it was.
When all people were disarmed except the shooter. Disarming all good people is what Mark Kelly is asking for. Common sense gun laws.
That's right. That was the claim, that there was nobody there to defend.
That's
he
right.
just kept
Right.
shooting rounds because nobody had a gun to fight him.
Right. That is his idea of common sense gun laws. If you vote for him and his common sense gun laws, you may get it. Be very careful what you ask for. You may get it, folks.
Good point, John.
Early in the last century, a lot of people got common sense gun laws. Then 12 million died in Germany. Not from the war, from common sense gun laws. 25 to 50 million died in the Soviet Union. The reason for the number disparity in the 25 to 50 million is 25 were counted. The other 25 million just went away at night. From common sense gun laws, they did this. After all, it was for the children. That is a direct quote from both Adolf Hitler and Barack Hussein Obama.
And in reality, every totalitarian effort always disarms the population so they can't fight back.
And that's
Once again,
exactly
that's
why,
common sense.
And that's exactly why we have a Second Amendment in our Constitution installed way back when.
1789.
That's right. Because, well, actually, the first 10 amendments didn't come until after that. So it was,
Shortly. The
yeah,
first
it
10
was
were
very
already
shortly.
ready. It was prepared with the approval of the Constitution. They just
Right.
thought they couldn't get them until afterwards. But
Yes.
yeah.
Now,
So
Kelly,
it might have been 1799.
Kelly wants red flag laws passed. What do you think of red flag laws? Call in and tell us.
602-475-9844.
Can I call in? I just want to call in.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Hey, Ron?
Yeah.
I don't like, this is me, this is Tim calling in. I don't like gun laws much. We need them for safety, but man, I don't trust a government that wants to take their guns away from you, or your guns away from you.
No.
No. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you for the call. Caller number 2. Go ahead,
That's
John.
exactly what you said. It's exactly what happened in the last century. Now,
He's looking through the pages right now. This is dead radio time.
yes.
He's trying to get to the clear things he wants to close with here.
Now, after Chiang Kai-shek was ousted by Mao in 1947, Mao took away guns from all the people, and as a result, about 80 million Chinese died from common sense
So this
gun laws.
is, just so you know, this is when the Communist Party took over China.
Yes.
So you mentioned those people, that's what it was. So that's what happened when the communists took over. They took everybody's guns, and all these people died.
Yes, absolutely. Now, health care for all of us, that's something else he wants. He thinks our health care, we need better health care. Well, I'm not going to argue with him too much, except as a cancer survivor and the husband of Gabby Giffords, who was nearly killed in the shooting by Jared Lee Loeffner, who was an independent registered, by the way, and owes her life to quality medical care, Mark has a deep appreciation for the importance of health care and coverage that you can rely on. Mark knows that he and Gabby were fortunate to have good insurance that covered the life-saving care they needed, but that many Arizona families lack affordable health care coverage. That came off the website for Kelly. Congress has their own medical care.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that on his website. Congress has their own medical care coverage paid for by you.
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers. They voted in by themselves. While we, the people, got Obamacare and also paid for by us. You remember the lies of the Democrats? You can keep your health plan if you like it. You can keep your doctor if you like it.
That was a big lie.
Your doctor? Both lies by the Democrat. Now, we've got a little bit of time left. I want to get into a little bit, what are Democrats? The Democrats are the party of slavery. You remember that?
No,
Black
they wouldn't.
Lives Matter? They're the party of slavery. They are the party of the Trail of Tears. Do you remember the Trail of Tears?
Yes, the Indians.
Yes, the
Annihilation of
Indians
Indian
rounded up out of the southeast United States and put on a trail out to Oklahoma. Half of them died on the way. That was the Democrats. They removed 60,000 Indians from the southeast and sent them to Oklahoma to die on the way. They are the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They hung people, both black and white supporters, and burned down crosses on the lawns. They are the party of segregation. The Democrats are the party of lies and liars. They are the party of obstruction. They are the party of death. They have been in charge of the White House during every war which killed over 500,000 American soldiers in the 20th century, except the first Iraqi war, which lasted 100 hours and only killed 120 Americans. The wars, World War I, World War II, Korean, and Vietnam. Right now, their head liar is Adam Shifty. What a piece of work that guy is. Because he starts out with the first lie, and if that doesn't work, he goes to the second one. Then if that doesn't work, he goes to the third one. And he leaks all these lies to the press so that they can dupe you into thinking, oh, he's doing something wonderful. The Democrats are the party that pays the fathers to leave home. LBJ in his Great Society legislation. And that's the first time that the government stole from Social Security Administration. They took the money. It was oversupplied with money. So they took it. That was LBJ. That was your Democrat.
Well, he created Social Security. So it's hard to steal from it when it didn't exist. But
Well,
they
no.
took from it.
He didn't create it. FDR created it.
That's true. FDR created Social Security
Let me
and Medicare.
Let me interject here just
Right?
for a minute about something that
That's right.
our education system here in the United States now has gotten away from teaching at least American history and probably world history. Not a student anymore, so I don't know for sure what they're teaching and what they're not. But it's really apparent when you talk to people that they do not understand what's going on in this country or what has gone on historical. Now, Tim and I were talking a little earlier. There was a president of the United States that his name was Woodrow Wilson. He was one of the first Democrats in a long time.
He was one of the most racist.
He was a racist, totally a racist. He segregated federal employees. Prior to that, white people and black people worked in federal government next to each other. And
He segregated
he was
the
Military,
Defense
too.
Department.
He did,
too.
and then people had this.
All the military.
All of a sudden, black people had to work in one room and white people in another room. A lot of people don't know that, and this man was terrible at this, and the black people, with I'm trying to remember the name of the leader that went to talk to him about this, and the segregation that they had. And this was a black man, and he was a very well-educated man. He was a Harvard graduate, and I can't remember his name offhand.
Woodrow Wilson was well-educated too.
Yeah.
Wasn't he president of Princeton?
Yes, he was, and he also was a professor there.
Now, when I say this about this man, he was one of the very first people to be thrown out of the Oval Office. Wilson, when he spoke about the segregation that was being done, Wilson had him thrown out of the office. Can you imagine that? This was a Democrat, my friends. And, we keep talking. I mean, today, they try to make Republicans look like we're racists. We're not racists. We're not segregationists.
The most racist president we had was Woodrow Wilson. The second most racist president we had was Barack Hussein Obama. Sorry, I mispronounced his name.
I don't know if I'd go with that. But the fact of the matter is, racism's been changed in its what it means.
Yes.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But the people that actually promote racism are not really racist. I mean, not by their definition.
No.
Because they actually define it. I've had this to my face. They actually define it as pretty much it's a white problem. If you're white, you're racist, which is bizarre to me. Now, I'm just going to ask you a question. It's related to this. Have you ever been attacked by anybody?
I've never been attacked by anybody, but once in my life, I was called racist.
Okay. Never been assaulted by anybody. Have you ever been assaulted by anybody?
Yes.
Mike, have you ever been assaulted by anybody?
Yes.
Were they white or black?
White.
And I was assaulted 2 times by black people. Just walking down the street. And it's weird.
You just have one of those faces, Tim.
Yeah. So, but the point is, it happens. But I guess people say today, well, that they wouldn't be racist for attacking you because you were white, and that's wrong. We need to look at this race problem. We need to get to where everybody's one, and we ought to be able to get there. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, but we should.
Tim, you and I talked.
There's nothing wrong with any race.
You and I talked a little bit about this, and we had the Reverend Sharpton in his eulogy. Was one of the most ridiculous things I had ever heard. He talked about how black people should have, and they've not risen to, because white people had their knee on their neck. And as we discussed, okay, let's take Dr. Ben Carson, probably the world-renowned surgeon.
Anyway, he's well-known, good guy.
And we have Dr. Gerald Adams, who's the Surgeon General of the United States. Now, let me ask you this, folks. How many black Surgeon Generals to the United States that we have ever had? We're such a racist country.
I don't really know.
5. 5 American United States Surgeon Generals were black.
Who?
I can't remember their name. One was a woman, and the other 4 were men. And of course,
I remember her.
This Gerald Adams, I think, is a remarkable man.
Smart guy.
Not only is he a smart guy, Tim, but of course these people come from the military background. Very few people know he's a vice admiral in the United States Navy.
I get it, but just generally speaking, if America were a racist country, there wouldn't be blacks involved in anything. They wouldn't. Anyway, that's a topic for a different day. It's very complicated.
Oh yeah, my point.
I don't know the answer to
it. My point being that there are people, and then of course he had bad mouth. I always say Michael Jackson was Michael Jordan. That white people held him down. No, they didn't. He was a very talented man. He got where he was not because he was black, but because he was talented.
Who?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, of course.
The
best ever.
And he happens to be worth $2.1 billion.
That doesn't really mean anything.
No, but I'm saying when they keep saying blacks have been held back in America, that's simply not true.
I think if you looked at a number of people doing great jobs in lots of places in all the professions, that they're at the helm of many businesses in this country, it indicates something good, as well as the level.
We got to get out of here,
But
Mr.
before we
O'Connor,
go, I have one question for you
well,
guys.
we don't have time.
Who
We're
reintegrated?
We can't do it next time. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
See you
Thanks
Wednesday
for watching.
night at Fighting Back.